Hello ladies and gentlemen, Tevaron here, and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Magic, the first edition after the release of Amonkhet. As such, we are of course playing zombies, mostly because it was the easiest thing for me to get into a state that is okay-ish. Not been a lot of time to test. I actually didn't even get to play but a few games, less than 5 probably, the evening it released, because the state of the game at that point was not very good. There were a lot of crashes, lagging out, disconnects. So most of my testing was done today, which is the day after. And I'm not going to claim that the Orzhov zombies list that I've got here is the absolute perfect best list. It is as good as I can get it in that amount of time, which is to say it's okay. I've been leveling with it, although we are still quite a bit down on the ladder. I think we're at rank 10. But anyway, let's see what's in here. Alright, we are playing 2 Dread Wanderer, the 1-cost 2/1 zombie jackal. It does enter the battlefield tap, which is a detriment, but not a huge one. And then, if it is in your graveyard and you have 1 or fewer cards in your hand, you can pay 3 mana to return it to the battlefield. Our other 1-drop is Festering Mummy. We are playing 3 of these. It's not super great, but it does attack and block as though it had 2 power for the purposes of combat because of the -1/-1 counter, so it can take down creatures that have 2 defense. Then the first of our removal spells is also a zombie synergistic card, Dark Salvation. Allows us to put out zombies and to give creatures -1/-1 until end of turn for the amount of zombies we control. There are tricks we can do with this. That is, if we are in the zombie mirror match, we can actually target our opponent if they have more zombies than us, and either choose to give them none or enough to kill what we're going to kill, and then it looks at what zombies they control to determine how many -1/-1s the target of the creature target gets. Anyway, that's a very niche circumstance, but one worth knowing about. The first of our 2-drops is a full playset of Binding Mummy. I have been very impressed with this card. For 2 mana, we get a 2/2 zombie, and whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under our control, we can tap target artifact or creature. This card has allowed me to push through a ton of damage by tapping down the opponent's blockers. The second of our 2-drops is Wayward Servant. Again, we are playing the maximum allowed. For a black and a white, we have a 2/2 zombie. Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This is very important the way this is worded. Whenever a zombie enters the battlefield, that's nice, because it doesn't have to trigger on cast, and we have several effects in this deck that put zombies into play without actually casting a zombie. And of course, since we are an aggressive deck, we do want our ubiquitous 2 Smuggler's Copters. Also running Declaration in Stone. Some of you may be confused as to why we're not running Fatal Push. I did initially start out with Fatal Push, and it became rapidly apparent that we need more exile effects, especially in zombie mirror matches. Declaration in Stone fits that bill, especially with tokens. Next up, we are running the pair of Diregraf Colossus. This card is really good in this deck when we get it going. For 3 mana, we have a 2/2 zombie giant. It also gets a +1/+1 counter on it when it enters play for each zombie in our graveyard. And whenever we cast a zombie spell, we get a 2/2 black zombie onto the battlefield tapped. So this synergizes also with our Wayward Servant rather, back here. And with Binding Mummy, there's a lot of synergy in this deck, to say the least. Next up in the 3-drop slot, we also have Lord of the Accursed. For 2 and a black, we have a 2/3 zombie that pumps our other zombies and can also give all zombies menace until end of turn. This has also been not irrelevant for me in testing thus far. This next card up here isn't actually a zombie-centric card, but it has been something that I found to be necessary, which is Make a Stand. Creatures we control get +1/+0 and gain indestructible until end of turn. This foils all of the board wipes that aren't minus based, such as Languish or Yahini's Expertise. Everything else, this saves our creatures from, which is big game. And the +1/+0 is not entirely irrelevant either, as sometimes that's just enough damage to get the opponent dead. And then we come into more removal to Anguished Unmaking. Again, for the reason I stated before, we need exile effects. Also, this helps us to deal with opposing planeswalkers. We are also running Oketra the True, and while not zombie synergistic, she is an absolute house for 4 mana. We have a 3/6 with double strike and indestructible. She can't attack or block unless we control at least 3 other creatures, which we do most of the time, and if we don't, then she can make creatures for 3 and a white. 1/1 white warrior creatures with vigilance. Again, not zombies, but Oketra has also been very good for me in testing thus far. We are also running a pair of Gisa's Bidding. For the zombies that it gives us, we can occasionally madness them with the Smuggler's Copter, but honestly, we really just needed to fill out our 4-drop slot with something that does something useful to the deck's synergy. Then we get up to our 5 drops, the first of which is Liliana's Mastery, and we are running the full 2 of that. For 5 mana, zombies we control get +1/+1, and when it enters the battlefield, we get 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, which are actually 3/3s because of the buff there. Then we have Liliana, Death's Majesty, who is super synergistic with this deck. For 5 mana, we have a 5 loyalty Liliana. We can +1 to create a 2/2 black zombie and put the 2 top cards of our library into our graveyard. This synergizes with the zombies and also filling up our graveyard with zombies for Diregraf Colossuses, and occasionally we will also mill one of the Dread Wanderer. I'm probably remembering that name wrong. The 1-cost 2/1 that can recur itself. We can reanimate cards from the graveyard. Again, very good, as a lot of our things have enters the battlefield synergy. And for -7, destroy all non-zombie creatures, especially useful in non-zombie mirror matches. And finally, the game has had trouble parsing the casting cost of these cards, I think. I think it takes whatever the highest casting cost is and lists them when you're looking for the cards up here, because Never was not in the 3-drop slot. It took me a long time to find it, actually. It's in the 4-drop slot, and one of the other decks I've put a little bit of time into testing, I wanted to play Cut to Ribbons in, and it was also not in the 2-drop slot. So anyway, another card that can destroy planeswalkers, creatures as well, and then also has zombie synergy on the backside while being utility. We get to exile a card from a graveyard and create a 2/2 zombie, so if there's something annoying with recursion, such as Embalm effects or an opposing Dread Wanderer or, what have you, if not, it still makes a 2/2 zombie in the 4-drop slot. So, that is the non-land cards. Our mana base is 4 plains, 8 swamps, because we are very much heavier on black than on white, 2 Shambling Vent, 2 Isolated Chapel, 3 Aether Hub, 4 Evolving Wilds, and 2 Forsaken Sanctuary. And I know what you're thinking, that is indeed quite a few lands that come into play tapped. However, we kind of need it with the mana requirements that are going on here. I would love to be able to cut a couple of Forsaken Sanctuaries or a couple of Evolving Wilds, but we also need the 25 land, because in my early testing, I was losing to Mana Screw very badly at 23 and 24 lands. In fact, most of the games I lost at that point were due to getting stuck and not being able to cast our 5-drop spells. But anyway, that is the deck list. There will be the list in the description, as well as a link to the Magic Duels Helper version if you prefer that format. But enough talking, let's play some games. Alright, we are indeed at rank 10, as you saw there. Also, you may notice that I have changed my avatar from the ever-present Jason, will be keeping this, to Liliana. Her art is just so great, how could I say no? Alright, land impasse, that's fine for us. Okay, another zombie, happy to see that. We'll go ahead and drop our Smuggler's Copter. Then we can drop one of our 3 drops next turn, Crew and Swing, getting a loot at the same time. Alright, looks like we got blue-black. Jace, so we are most likely up against some sort of controlling build. Make a stand is nice, although that won't do much if they are running minus sweepers such as Languish. We could deal with Jace, but I'm not too afraid of Jace's Planeswalker form, to be honest. I think we want to lead off with Diregraf Colossus. Even though he won't get the pluses because we have no zombies in our yard, I feel better about risking him than the Lord of the Accursed at the moment. Though either one would have been an okay play. Yes, please. Alright. We probably want to pitch the Forsaken Sanctuary since it comes into play tapped. We do need to get to 5 lands eventually. We do have several 5-drops that we absolutely want to cast as quickly as possible, but we don't have any of them in our hand yet, so... Alright. Probably Grixis with that Aether Hub there, so Make a Stand may help us against a Radiant Flames or something similar. A second Smuggler's Copter. Do I want to extend into a potential board wipe? That is the question. And I think the answer is no. Let's go ahead and crew. And then we'll swing. Or try to. Okay, waited to loot with Jace there. Discarding an island. And going to grasp, well, bye-bye to a Smuggler's Copter. And I actually feel a whole lot better about deploying another Smuggler's Copter now. Let's tap the Aether Hub, please. There we go. Not that we can actually cast anything with 2 mana at instant speed, but our opponent doesn't know that. We're not for certain as of yet that our opponent actually is playing a 3rd color. Right, another land. Let's go ahead and try this again. More removal? Maybe. Alright, another land into the bin. I am going to make a stand on that Fatal Push. Since it says destroy, it will save our Copter while getting us in an additional point of damage. And I very much want the loot effects here. Yes, please. We will pitch another land. And despite not being terribly afraid of Jace, I do want to try to prevent him from flipping here, so... There we go. They do get to sacrifice this clue and draw a card. Okay, so perhaps our opponent is just blue-black. In which case we don't actually have to be worried about Radiant Flames, though the other board wipes, such as Yahini's expertise there, are a factor. So, very glad I still have a creature in hand to, well, I'm not going to be crewing Smuggler's Copter, but that does take 3 of their life away. The question is here now, do we deploy Lord of the Accursed, or do we just fire up Shambling Vent and get in for 2? I think I am going to play out our Lord. Yeah, that's fine. And with 3 cards in the opponent's hand, I'm going to hold on to this Plains. We don't really need to play it, and it lets us bluff something. We may be getting into a position here that we're not going to be able to pull this game out, depending on what they have in hand. Alright, Liliana's Mastery is great. We could play it pre-combat to try to pump our Lord, or we could just attack with 1 less on attack to try to bait out some spell that would make it less likely that the Liliana's Mastery gets countered. I think I'm going to opt for attacking. I don't think the point of damage is important enough, and having Liliana's Mastery not get countered is quite important. Well, it appears we are going to connect for the 2 damage, and now I wonder if we shouldn't just wait on the Mastery, but I am going to be aggressive and hope they don't have a counterspell. Seems like they do, so, oh, or not. Not. Okay, so we missed a point of damage, but I still think that it was an okay play there. Obviously, hindsight being 20/20. We see that it wasn't. Well, they're going to pull from tomorrow to draw 4 and then discard a card. Discarding a Fatal Push. Hennies would wipe our board here. Well, no, it wouldn't, because this would survive and keep it, but that definitely will. Languish definitely would. Alright, and now we are in danger of just flooding out and having the game slip away from us, especially with the opponent drawing 4 cards there. But we are going to keep plugging away. Alright, Fatal Push on our Shambling Vent. Don't have anything that is recursive in our graveyard. Alright, at least they don't have a clock on us yet, so we have time. Sadly, that is not going to get the job done. Alright, Gideon is a hell of a clock. That is a lot of damage really fast. We would love to draw, probably Never to Return would be great. We could kill Gideon and then make a zombie, but Wayward Servant is going to have to do. Probably just going to get killed. Alright, not at instant speed. Was it killed? So, there is a Grasp of Darkness. Probably just drew that. Either that or they had their mana tapped in such a way that they didn't have to black up. I didn't really pay a huge amount of attention to that. So we're going to 13 here. So 2 more turns and we're dead. And that's not going to help us. Yeah, we've probably fallen behind and just lost this game, which is a risk you take when you're playing an aggressive deck against a controlling deck. That's what they're designed to do, is to survive into the late game where their bigger mana, more impactful spells can just take over. Whereas with an aggressive deck such as this, we want to get the opponent dead as quickly as possible so they don't have time to get to those bigger mana, more impactful spells. Well, that is a blocker, though if they kill it, we're dead. Even with the -1 counter, that's still exactly 6 damage, but we don't have any other option than to try. We'll just pass back and see if we are indeed dead. Yep, cast out. We are dead. We'll go ahead and let our opponent swing and hit us in the face. Good game, opponent. We will try to fare a little bit better in the next game, and I'll see you there. Well, it seems like the connection issues are not over, and this seems like a hand I can't really keep. 1 creature and 3 removal. Immediately after... Yeah, this is a lot more like it. Keep this. Immediately after the last game, there was a disconnection. I had to restart the whole game to reconnect because retry just didn't get the job done for whatever reason, and then trying to load into another game, we completely crashed, so hopefully we can get some games recorded. Don't know what to say about it if we don't. It is what it is, and there's not a lot I can do about it. That's a fine draw. Let's go ahead and attack. Then we'll play out our Binding Mummy. Hopefully we'll draw another 2-drop to cast. If not, you know, it is what it is. We can kill a creature that has 2 defense with the Dark Salvation just cast to make no zombies, as we already have 2 on board. So that's a possibility as well. Oh. Yeah, it's a graphical bug there. That is tapped. Played a Kessig Forge Master. We drew an untapped land, which is going to be good for Gisa's bidding. However, it doesn't really help us deal with this. I think we're just going to swing with the Festering Zombie, though we could Dark Salvation and kill it and just get in for 3 as well, as this is going to make us 2 zombies next turn to tap down up to 2 target creatures. So, yeah, I think I've talked myself into it. We're going to Dark Salvation. Yeah, we'll put none out and then give that 2 minuses. Go ahead and fetch with this before we forget about it. And I will go ahead and get a second white, just in case we need to cast 2 white spells in a turn. And we'll see what the opponent's got going on. Well, they definitely have damage effects going on. That is an option you can disable in the game settings, makes games go quite a bit faster. You don't have to deal with the slash animations and things during combat. Ooh. There's a new card, Harsh Mentor. If we activate a artifact, creature, or land ability that's not mana producing, then it will deal 2 damage to us. However, we're not going to really do that. We are going to Gisa's bidding. And we will tap that dude down. We could just leave it up and try to make them trade with us, but I like my Binding Mummy sticking around. Sure, tap it. Looks like they are missing land drops as well. Alright. Ooh, playing a Blood Rage Brawler. That guy is large and in charge. They do have to discard a card to it. In a lot of circumstances, though, that is not a detriment if you build your deck correctly, but discarding Chandra is, though they are far away from being able to cast her, so... Alright, we can actually deal with both of these if we would like to here. And I think I would like to, seeing as how they're stuck on 2 mana. Going to go ahead and unmake this thing. And then we'll Dread Wanderer and tap down the Mentor. Yes, please. And swing in for 7. And I think we've probably got this game at this point, almost no matter what they play, if they're mono red. Though don't want to get too full of ourselves. I guess it would be really bad if they dropped their 3rd land and then Kozilek's returned. But they're not. There's a Garrison. So at this point they can block 2 and then take 5, which would put them to 1. So just about any spell that we could draw would get us the win here. The one thing we don't want to draw is a land. And Oketra will help out with that. That's for sure. Don't know if we want to suicide a bunch of stuff at this point, though. I guess they're obligated to block, which would get this off the board. We could just swing with a Festering Mummy and one of the tokens, or both of the tokens, keeping these around, though we can reanimate the Dread Wanderer. Yeah, I think I'm going to hold the Binding Mummy back. We'll get in 3 here. And I'm okay trading away some stuff. Alrighty. So trade here, they eat our zombie, we take them to 3. And then we'll go ahead and cast Oketra, who is turned on as we have 3 other creatures. Even if they kill one, we can make a creature with her ability and then she can attack. Another garrison. They can't afford to attack us as Oketra will eat it. They have left the game. We'll continue playing. And that should be the ball game. They have to block Oketra and then one of these, and then that is exactly 3 damage. Alright. And we get a win under our belt. Let's hope we can rattle off another one. Well, we managed to complete a game without a disconnect or a crash. I don't know what madness this is, but even though we can't play the Festering Mummy on 1, I think we keep this. We can definitely play it on 2, and then we have the opportunity for Dark Salvation and Lord of the Accursed a little bit later. We're going to go ahead and fetch, just to make sure we don't miss the opportunity if there's some lag or something going on, or if I'm just talking so much I forget to pause and do it. And they still haven't fixed the right-click thing. We still can't right-click and then choose an option to sack Evolving Wilds, which is very sad to me. I don't like that at all. Looks like we may be up against mono red or similar. Let's go ahead and play out our mummy. And then we will Evolving Wilds and again fetch another swamp. Then next turn we have the option. We can either block this, which I don't think I'm going to do unless they cast another creature out that we can give the -1 counter to. Because we can Dark Salvation, making a zombie, and then giving the Renowned one -2. Which would advance our board state while dealing with one of their threats. Okay, Ember Hauler. That is actually more important to kill, in my view. And while they're tapped out, is the best time to do that, so we are going to Dark Salvation for 1. Give ourselves a zombie, and give that -2/-2. And then we will swing. Would be nice if they played another Goblin Glory Chaser, where we could get a 2-for-1 with our Declaration in Stone. Lathnu Hellion is also something that we would like to get rid of. So they're threatening 6 damage here. Do we chump with a zombie? So that would take us to 13. We can crack back for 3, taking them to 16. And remove this. That would keep us from deploying our Lord of the Accursed. If we draw a 2-drop, though, we can play the Plains instead and do both. I think we take this. As much as I would like to not. They will pay their energy to keep the Hellion around. Alright, we did not draw a 2-drop, so we are still going to Evolving Wilds. And again, get another swamp. Then we will declare on this. and hit them for 3. And depending on how aggressive the rest of their hand is, we could very easily lose this game. It could get out of hand very quickly. Alright, Bomat Courier, that is not as scary as another Hellion would have been. Though it is potential card advantage for them. One of our 5-drops being drawn here would be awesome, especially Liliana's Mastery would give us a huge board presence. Another Dark Salvation is fine as well. Let's play out our second plane. And the question is, do we Lord of the Accursed or do we cast the Dark Salvation for 2? Because if we Lord of the Accursed, the Dark Salvation is for 0. I think advancing our board state with 2 zombies is going to be the better call. Though we do want to attack first. Okay, let's Dark Salvation for 2. We want the zombies, and we want to kill the Glory Chaser because this is more blockable. Alright, sacking their clue. And next turn, Lord of the Accursed makes a huge difference in our board state. Okay, they are going to attack. We will be blocking. Even if they have built to smash and can trample over for some, absorbing some amount of damage is great. Oh, you're just going to shock and then sack the Bomat Courier. Alright, they had a Fiery Temper, so we're going to be taking 5, which will take us to 5, and then they'll get the 2 cards that were under there. Hopefully they're not cards that kill us. That would be awesome if that were the case. And our zombie got to survive, so... We are going to play our Lord of the Accursed, as it's really the only play available to us. Now, we could leave an additional zombie back to block, but I think that that is a recipe for dying, so... Which it may be a recipe for dying in any event, depending on what these cards are and what they draw. Otherwise, if they can't kill us this turn, we almost certainly kill them on our next turn. So, either way, a very close game. Well, Speedway Fanatic, we're pretty much obligated to block that thing. Okay. And yep, Exquisite Firecraft, if we hadn't blocked, we would be dead. No waste time, we'll just continue to combat. Very awesome close game here. This is the kind of game that I like to play. Let's hope we can get a few more of those. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to connect to our opponent, so we are against the AI this match. Yeah, a bit slow, but this is more like it. We'll lead off with a swamp so we can get a creature out onto the board. Also, in an aside tangent about life in general, I had a bit of a scare yesterday when I updated my NVIDIA drivers. My computer completely black screened, and I ended up having to hard reset it with the hardware, with the power button. And I thought the NVIDIA driver had done something, but as it turned out, my all-in-one cooler, the pump had died, and the CPU was overheating, so I had to scramble all around town trying to find a replacement. I ended up getting a Cooler Master Hyper Evo 212, just an air cooler, but it is quiet, so that's the most important thing to me. And ended up paying about twice what I could have paid online, but I absolutely had to have it, so that's a bit of a shame. Yeah, we're going to fetch again. Get our second swamp. And then Oketra can come down next turn. And it looks like our opponent missed, because I was running my mouth there, our opponent missed their second land drop and had to discard, which is unfortunate. This is not going to be a very good game, but I'm loath to cut it out with the problems that we've had with connections and such. Let's swing first. At least it's going to be quick, even if it's not good, I guess. Alright, they hit their second land, finally. I don't think it's going to make a difference at this point, though. We've got a huge presence on the board, and we're about to turn on our Oketra with Liliana's Mastery and swing in for 8 damage due to her double strike there. And the pump from the Mastery on our Festering Mummy. Couldn't remember the name, my mind blanked there. Kind of a frequent occurrence, honestly. That happens as you get older, kids. Alright, this should be the game, so I do apologize for the poor gameplay here. Not on my part, but just, in general. But hopefully the next game will be a bit better. I will see you there. I would like to have another creature, but I think I'm happy with this. We can fetch for a plains rather, and then play our Binding Mummy, and then we've got 2 pieces of removal. If we draw any action, we should be in pretty good shape here. And never, the other side of that, does make us a creature, so we have a little bit of action going on with that. Eventually. Alright, well, we will definitely play the swamp over the Forsaken Sanctuary there. Get a creature on the board. And also, just came to my mind, I should have mentioned this earlier, the next couple of weeks' videos, including F&M videos, are going to be a little bit on the shorter side, as I'm doing my best to get a backlog up, which means making shorter videos to ensure that. Because I've got to be traveling, not next week, but the week after. I will be out of town pretty much the whole week. And as such, will not be able to record during that time, and I want to make sure to have videos going up. So, you can only play 2 rares in duels, so we have a question to ask ourselves. How likely is it that they have the second Scrap Heap Scrounger in hand? Because if they do, then we should wait for the Declaration in Stone. It's not very likely, though it is a possibility. Let's be mana efficient. Now they're not going to be recurring that thing. If they play a second Scrap Heap Scrounger, I'm going to be very sad. As we could have gotten a real two for one there. Even more than that, as the Scrap Heap Scroungers, as we said, do have recursion. But they have a Matter Reshaper, so not nearly as bad. Though it does provide a value when it dies. They get to reveal the top card. And I still think we're probably better off just killing and keeping swinging, though we have been drawing not gas. Let's fetch. We've got 2 white, so we're just going to fetch up more black mana. And we're going to play Never. They will get a reveal. Hopefully, Thought Not Seer, that is bad. We'll go ahead and attack here. We will be able to tap that down next turn with Return, putting us out a zombie and activating, or triggering rather, the Binding Mummy's ability. Though I feel like we're going to get outclassed in this matchup. Well, And luckily we don't have anything for that Thought-Knot Seer to take from us, so that's good too. A removal spell would also be awesome here. That way we could get rid of this and draw ourselves a card, as the Leaf's Play ability will still trigger. We got a Dread Wanderer. So now we have to ask ourselves if it's worth playing both of these out and then have no way to trigger the Binding Mummy next turn. Well, we're for sure going to do this, as it uses our mana most efficiently. And we'll exile their Matter Reshaper. That is fine. And then tap this down. Yes, please. And I think at this point it is best just to play out the Wanderer and hope to draw another creature card next turn. And we don't have to choose. I could have just clicked Finish, which I probably should have done, but oh well. Same effect in the end. Alright. Reality Smasher would be terrible for us here. They have the mana for it. But it's not, it's Kalitas, which is almost as bad. Could be worse given the right circumstances, and they're swinging. It seems a little ambitious. Though maybe the correct play. I don't know what they've got going on in their hand. They could be playing a 1-mana removal spell here. Fatal Push or a burn spell. Let's go ahead and try to get in there. Yes, please. If they have a removal, they're going to 2-for-1 us here, as they get to kill one of our creatures, exile it, and make a zombie, and then block another one, but I don't think we can hold back in the position we're in. Luckily, they don't seem to have that going on, so they do still have the life gain coming from Kalitas, though, which is also bad. For us, not for them, obviously. I just realized, too, we have yet to draw our Liliana in any of these games, which is also a little sad. There's a Liliana for them, so probably kill our Dread Wanderer, which will make them a token. Yep. And it exiles, so we can't recur it. They could go ahead and sack this to Kalitas to get an extra 2 points of life gain, too, if they wanted to. Just going to swing with the Vampire there. And we will not be blocking. At this point, we kind of need Liliana's Mastery. I mean, Smuggler's Copter is alright. Not really what we're looking for. Would have loved to have had it a couple of turns ago so that we could have gotten some loots going on. We will not be attacking. Sacking the clue. Could have also been sacking the zombie. Either one of those would have been fine for them. And grow the Kalitas or draw a card. And there is the Reality Smasher we mentioned earlier. Which is still not good for us. Not swinging with Kalitas. Got 11 damage coming here. Okay, there is Kalitas. We need to try to block. So we will block here, and block with the token here. That will not give them a zombie, because it only activates for non-token creatures. And we do get the loot. Yep, discard that. Going to 5. They're up to 14. And Lily's going to kill our Copter, sadly. giving them a zombie token. And we're dead. Yep. Sure, tap that. Yes, please. Skip attacking. And, I mean, we could hold out for a turn here, maybe, if they don't have removal. But it's not going to get us anywhere. We've just got way too much going on. So we have to absorb at least 5. We have to block everything but the Smasher to live. So, here we go. And then they're going to get a bunch of zombies. And we're going to die next turn, or this turn if they have burn or pump. Lots of zombies. Yup. Yup. Well, this is certainly not the best outing we've ever had for a deck, but hopefully you did at least see what was kind of going on there. I've had better luck in my testing, but obviously not in this session of games, so it is what it is. As I said, not a ton of time to put in work this week. Hopefully you still enjoyed the video as we get our face smashed in. If you did, please leave a like below. It really does help tremendously. And of course, hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more in the future. I have been Tevaron, and until next time, friends, be excellent to each other.